The DevOps Foundation Course, Lesson 7, Organizational Considerations.
Welcome to Lesson 7. In this lesson, we'll continue to think about some of the people elements of DevOps by looking at organizational considerations. Topics in this lesson will include DevOps skills, DevOps teams, promoting collaboration, and improving communication. As we discussed in the last lesson, the people elements of DevOps are critical. So think about your own organization and your own DevOps efforts as you complete this lesson.
As DevOps becomes more well-known and widely adopted, the demand for DevOps skills is rising. But what sort of skills are required for a DevOps role? Analysis from the State of DevOps report in 2013 found that 84% of DevOps roles wanted coding or scripting skills. Remember, this doesn't just relate to software coding, it could also mean the development of automated tests, deployment scripts, and so on. 60% of DevOps roles called for people skills, particularly communication and collaboration. 56% of DevOps roles called for process reengineering, for example, experience of lean and agile practices. And 19% of DevOps roles called for experience with specific named tools. Are you surprised that toolset experience is on the low side? DevOps teams are looking for the right people with the right skills. Training on a specific piece of software or technology can always be added. Although some of the DevOps skills we've just discussed are very technical, many organizations are looking for people who have a well-rounded skill set. They want people who can see the big picture and understand the business and customer perspective, not just the technology view. This can include knowledge of business priorities and an understanding of business processes. A survey by CA Technologies spoke to 1,300 senior IT decision-makers. They echoed the need for business and soft communication skills to support DevOps success. These included knowledge of business priorities, strategies, metrics, 47%. Knowledge of current business processes, 42%. The 2014 State of DevOps report found that 16% of respondents had or were creating DevOps departments. These were mostly departments with 20 to 499 employees, but the trend is growing. From a DevOps perspective, having a DevOps team can be seen as a good or a bad thing. The study also found that DevOps departments were mostly common in the entertainment, technology, and web software industries, where the teams were organized around a single product or service rather than being focused on projects. Let's think about DevOps teams with an exercise. Plan to spend 15 minutes on this exercise. Some DevOps practitioners see having DevOps teams as a good thing. Others think it's a problem. What are the pros and cons of structuring an organization around DevOps teams? Draw on your own experience and try and identify at least 5 points. Do you support the creation of DevOps teams? DevOps teams include development and operations staff who report to the same management structure. They are still built on an agile, small team approach and can successfully apply DevOps principles. The responsibilities of some DevOps teams include ensure the smooth running of the source control repository, build systems, help build automated environments for testing and development to perform daily tasks. One of the perceived downsides of creating a DevOps team is that it can become another IT silo, which is the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish. Development and operations might then wash their hands of shared accountability, leaving DevOps activities to become someone else's problem. DevOps must be part of everyone's role and responsibilities. It can't just be down to the DevOps team. So let's think about DevOps organizational structures. Some of the techniques that could be used include assigning operations liaisons to each development team, creating cross-functional product teams to facilitate collaboration as opposed to organizing by project, adopting matrix or market-oriented structures, not functional structures, or creating shared services within operations that development teams can draw on to improve productivity. The main driver behind these structural changes is the increased flow and deployment frequency that DevOps brings. This drives a need for better communication and coordination, leaving some traditional functional structures floundering. Click on each of the 4 bullet points to learn more. An ops liaison can attend development's daily stand-up meetings and bring requirements back to operations. This means that operations staff are engaged early in the product or project lifecycle, and there are no surprises later on. Operations can also add value based on their knowledge and experience, and therefore prevent development rework later. Function-oriented structures can be siloed and lead to poor communication. Creating a cross-functional team with shared goals related to a particular product puts all the skills in one place and improves communication and collaboration. Cross-functional teams can cut across traditional organizational boundaries without necessarily disturbing organizational charts. Market-oriented structures are optimized to respond quickly to changing customer needs. Their goals are linked to the market they operate in. Matrix organizations try and balance the needs of the market-oriented and traditional functional structures by sharing resources. Matrix organizations can be complex, and all staff need to be very clear about their role, management, and reporting structure. For example, a person might be in a team called server operations and in a market-based team supporting a web application. They need to be able to understand their priorities at any given time. Shared services organize operational functions into areas that development can easily engage with. Project teams can be onboarded more quickly, leverage common source code repositories, automated build and testing pipelines, monitoring tools, security scanning, and tools and other operational functions. As DevOps becomes more popular, more and more job roles are appearing, including the title DevOps Engineer. This isn't currently an industry-recognized credential or a formal career track, but as DevOps grows, it might well become one. The people who are currently applying for DevOps engineer-type roles include developers who are interested in deployment and system administrators who enjoy scripting and coding. Why not do a search on your local job boards to see if you can find any DevOps job titles? Are there any common characteristics across the roles? Remember, DevOps is about communication, collaboration, and integration. Anyone who wants to work in a DevOps role will need to be willing to contribute their technical talent to business and process improvement initiatives, comfortable collaborating and working in small teams, comfortable in a shared culture, and willing to take accountability and work with a degree of autonomy. There are many benefits to working in a DevOps culture. Studies show that staff in organizations that adopt a DevOps culture will lead a more balanced life, spend more time on automation and infrastructure improvement, and spend less time firefighting. DevOps teams also spend more time doing positive or neutral tasks. They will identify and automate repetitive tasks, carry out infrastructure improvements, and spend time on self-education. The 2013 IT Ops and DevOps Productivity Report found firefighters are important, but as quality improves through the effective use of DevOps practices, there will be fewer fires to fight and more time to work on improvements. Adopting DevOps can be a huge change for an organization, and each one will need to consider how to get the skills and capabilities they need. Some organizations will look for talent within their enterprise IT department, and some will look to the so-called shadow IT teams that appear in business units. If there's a lack of competency in the new tools, methods, and practices, managers may have to look outside the organization to get started quickly. Successful organizations are addressing the IT skills gap by promoting collaboration and improved communication. This way, if one team is doing things better, the knowledge is shared. Some other approaches include creating teams of enthusiasts to build capabilities, working with local universities, restructuring pay and corporate culture to attract the right type of talent. What will your organization need to do? Our next topic is promoting collaboration in an organization. Behavior and attitude changes can enable people to improve their collaboration skills. Let's think about this with an exercise. Plan to spend 20 minutes on this exercise and think about what your own organization is currently like. Firstly, describe the characteristics of an organization that is bad at collaborating. What sort of behaviors would you expect to be present? What might the impact be on the organization overall? Then, describe an organization that is good at collaboration. How would they behave? What benefits might they get? There are some key characteristics of collaboration. This definition is an important one. Collaboration involves people jointly working with others towards a common goal. When a team collaborates, it achieves things that each individual could not do on their own. The whole is more than the sum of its parts. In a collaborative environment, everyone's contribution is valued. The level of collaboration in the organization should be reviewed regularly to make sure they are achieving the desired result and to ensure parity.
I worked with an organization that thought collaboration was all about tools, not behaviors. They had installed a chat tool, a document sharing tool, an intranet, and a messaging app. However, they didn't do anything to address either the culture or the behaviors in the organization. 6 months on, the tools were unused and collaboration was failing. When we move towards a collaborative culture, we have to address the people considerations, not just the tools.
In a collaborative organization, collaboration should be voluntary. If some people are too quiet or scared to collaborate, there are tools and techniques that can help them find their voice. For example, getting people to write improvement ideas on Post-it notes. Collaboration involves shared responsibility for outcomes and shared resources. For collaboration to work, there must be cooperation, respect, and trust. Other critical points for collaboration are to encourage participation. This includes providing feedback, identifying and solving problems, learning and sharing knowledge and expertise, sharing and even swapping responsibilities, and making and keeping realistic commitments. Here's a quote on collaboration from Werner Vogels, CTO of Amazon. "The traditional model is that you take your software to the wall that separates development and operations and throw it over and forget about it. Not at Amazon. You build it, you run it. This brings developers into contact with the day-to-day operation of their software. It also brings them into day-to-day contact with a customer." There are many DevOps benefits summed up here. Less silos, more collaboration, more accountability, better understanding of business goals. It's a great summary. Once an organization has created a collaborative environment, it also needs to be maintained. Systems need to be put in place to collect feedback, and feedback needs to be acted on, making team members accountable for their roles. There needs to be a culture of tolerance and a willingness to accept each other's differences within an atmosphere of trust. Any conflicts need to be discussed openly, with the ability to compromise encouraged. Collaborative organizations will use consensus decision-making, so they need to provide as many opportunities as possible for staff to meet and talk in relaxed, informal environments. Click on Consensus to learn a little bit more about what this means. Organizations must have effective communication systems, and communication needs to happen frequently. The effectiveness of communication should also be measured, and feedback should be acted on. Cross-functional working also supports collaboration. DevOps teams who are, for example, aligned to a product or a service can cut across traditional organizational boundaries, teams, and silos. Team members might be specialists in development, business analysis, database administration, operations, and so on. Using the Scrum rule of limiting teams to 7 people, plus or minus 2, enables better collaboration and more effective communication. Our final topic in this lesson is improving communication. Poor communication can lead to wasted time, wasted effort, mistrust, misunderstanding, unmet goals, frustration. Many organizations use lots of progress meetings as a way to try and improve communication. If these aren't well run and effective, they can actually compound the effects of poor communication. Because DevOps teams communicate and collaborate constantly, there can be less need for formal meetings. Shared tooling like group chat applications or social tools might be used to create a bond and bring everyone closer together. DevOps teams will typically gain 2 hours a week compared to non-DevOps teams, as they spend less time carrying out communication-type tasks like emails or planning meetings, and communicate more effectively. How much time could you get back each week with better collaboration and communication? Communication will be a repeatable task, and DevOps teams can build systems to support it. This might include deciding how communication will occur and setting appropriate uses for different communication channels like phone, email, chat, and so on. Rules of engagement might be adopted for meetings. The flow of information should be improved and automated wherever possible, and sharing must be encouraged, including ideas, feedback, and problems. Remember, sharing is a DevOps value, and sharing enables learning. Let's end with a quote from Steve Jobs. "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work." Good communication will help us all work better. Before we finish, here's a quiz.
That brings us to the end of this lesson. We've been looking at organizational considerations for DevOps, including DevOps skills, DevOps teams, promoting collaboration, and improving communication. Remember, these are all concepts you can apply to your own organization and career. Is there something you've identified as a good starting point?